Good evening. Thanks for joining us on India Business Hour. I'm Shireen Pan. The big stories on India Business Hour tonight.
Jio 5G will be true 5G in every sense. And I believe that India deserves nothing less than true 5G.
Jio's 5G services will be launched across Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai and Kolkata by Diwali this year. Mukesh Ambani promises to blanket the entire country with 5G coverage in 18 months. Adds Reliance will invest 2 lakh crore rupees for the rollout. Reliance will build a new gigafactory for power electronics, also plans to start production of battery packs, hopes to achieve 20 gigawatts of solar energy capacity by 2025. Reliance Retail will foray into the FMCG business this year, says Isha Ambani. Meta and Jio platforms also launched Jio Mart on WhatsApp, promising a first-of-its-kind end-to-end shopping experience on the messaging platform. Mukesh Ambani sets an ambitious target to double the group's value by 2027, also announces 75,000 crore rupees in investments to expand the oil-to-chemicals business and a potential doubling of the 75,000 crore rupee new energy investment announced last year.
Our next generation leaders are taking over the reins confidently across businesses, verticals and horizontal.
Ambani says the next generation of leaders are confidently taking over the reins at Reliance Industries, says Akash and Isha Ambani have taken leadership roles at Jio and Retail. Anant Ambani has joined the new energy business. Indian equities share the pain of global financial markets as traders factor in more aggressive rate hike action from central bankers and a further hit on the global economy. The Sensex and the Nifty end over 1.5% in the red. The rupee weakens past 80 per dollar in early trade, but stages a mild recovery ending at 79.96. In its first official comment on the matter, the government denies contemplating a ban on Chinese phones that cost less than 12,000 rupees, says the government will work towards ensuring space for Indian brands and suppliers. The new Chief Justice of India, Justice UU Lalit, has a packed first day in office. His bench takes up some big impact cases, including a plea for a probe into the Rafael deal, which was dismissed, and one seeking the invocation of the National Security Act in cases of hoarding, profiteering and adulteration. China's widespread lockdowns as part of its zero-COVID policy take a toll. Chinese tech giants record their worst quarter of growth in history. Alibaba reports its first flat year-on-year quarterly revenue growth. Social media and gaming company Tencent reports its first sales decline on record. The race to a lunar colony gets delayed. NASA calls off the much-awaited launch of its giant unmanned moon rocket Artemis 1 due to engine trouble. All of that and more coming up for you, but hawkish statements from the US Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell spooked equities worldwide, and India was no exception. We saw the Sensex today losing 800 points, Nifty lost nearly 250 points, and stocks saw selling pressure through the session. IT and metal stocks were among the key laggards. In fact, barring the Fmcg index, all sectoral indices ending in the red, with the volatility index rising 8%. And the sentiment is downbeat across global markets as well. Shares in Tokyo, London, Berlin, New York, all facing selling pressure after the US Federal Reserve Chairman made it clear on Friday that the central bank will not back off from the fight against inflation. Without detailing any timeline, Powell said, and I quote, "Restoring price stability will likely require maintaining a restrictive policy stance for some time." So this has investors spooked and nervous worldwide. And those statements are boosting the dollar index, which is rallying in trade thanks to safe haven buying. And that has meant the Indian rupee weakened to a record low against the dollar, breaching the 80 per dollar mark. Lata joins us now with a snapshot of the money market action. 80 breached, Lata, but finally recovering, closing at 79.96, a mild recovery today.
Yes, it was an all-time low for the rupee at 80.12. And that's largely dictated by the global rush of the dollar rising to a fresh 20-year high on Powell's speech. I mean, if there is no interruption in the rise in the yields all the way to 4%, the Fed funds rate, then clearly the dollar was stronger. The index went over 109 at one point in time. So all EM currencies are lower, between about 0.2 and 0.8%. That's the range. The rupee did recover towards the 80 mark, because of Reserve Bank selling a lot of dollars. But just want to add, there are two things. One is that the rupee has actually strengthened vis-a-vis other EM currencies in the past 1 month. And therefore, the Reserve Bank may be okay to allow a little bit of depreciation because you do want to remain competitive with other Asian emerging markets. The other thing is that there is this big expectation that Indian bonds will be included in the JPM index, at least the Financial Times story of Friday indicated that. And that also means a little bit of cushioning of India. So that could be actually positive for the rupee. Speaking of which, the bond yields, which had risen a lot, which had fallen a lot on Friday on the bond inclusion news, actually today gave up their gains. The bond yields rose again by about 4 or 5 basis points despite this bond inclusion news, because the bond inclusion news only helps the spot bond market. In the OIS market, swap market, actually bond yields have risen by 10 basis points. And that obviously is that if the US continues to raise rates, then India can't pause anytime soon. So those fears are creeping in. And plus, of course, crude is still 3 digits, you know. The recession fears are not hitting crude as much. And that's another negative for bonds.
I'm pleased to share that over the next 5 years, we will invest rupees 75,000 crores and expand capacities in existing and new value chain. Within the next 2 months, that is by Diwali of 2022, we will launch Jio 5G across multiple key cities, including the metro cities of Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, and Calcutta. Subsequently, we plan to increase the Jio 5G footprint month after month until by December of 2023, Akash and Isha have assumed leadership roles in Jio and Retail. They have been passionately involved in our consumer business since its inception. All of them are being mentored on a daily basis by our senior leaders, including myself and the board of directors.
I'm excited to announce that this year we will launch our fast-moving consumer goods business.
Well, that is the big story tonight. 5G rollout starting Diwali, doubling the conglomerate's value in 5 years, a foray into the FMCG space and ramping up the new energy business. These are just some of the key highlights of Reliance Chairman Mukesh Ambani's speech to shareholders at the company's 45th annual general meeting. But let's break it down for you now. Mukesh Ambani stressed that Jio would offer the world's largest and most advanced 5G network service. He has announced a 2 lakh crore rupee investment plan for the rollout of 5G network. He said that 5G would be launched across multiple key cities, and these cities include cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai and Kolkata by Diwali this year. Now, Jio is looking at a pan-India rollout by the end of 2023. Ambani's also laid out timelines for some of the company's new energy projects already announced. Reliance is looking at establishing 10 gigawatts of annual cell and module capacity by 2024, which will be scaled up to 20 gigawatts of fully integrated capacity by 2026. The company is also setting up a battery pack facility by 2023, which it will scale to 5 gigawatt hours of capacity by 2024 and further to 50 gigawatt hours by 2027. Reliance also aims to pivot from grey hydrogen to green hydrogen by 2025. Further, Reliance will establish 20 gigawatts of solar generation capacity by 2025. Let's now take a quick look at Reliance's investments. Ambani said they are looking at doubling Reliance's value by 2027. And to this end, the company is looking at a 75,000 crore rupee investment in green energy, a 75,000 crore rupee investment in its oil to chemicals business, and 2 lakh crore rupees in 5G. There was a big announcement on a new vertical, the FMCG business. Reliance Retail will launch its FMCG business later this year. Executive Director Isha Ambani said the objective of the FMCG business would be to develop and deliver products that solve every Indian's daily needs with high-quality products at affordable prices. Mukesh Ambani also spoke about the company's succession plan that is being implemented at Reliance Industries. Akash and Isha Ambani have assumed leadership roles in Jio and Retail, and Anant Ambani has joined the new energy business. The chairman and his leadership team will continue to guide and mentor the leaders and their teams and provide hands-on leadership, in his words, where needed. Well, let's focus first on Jio's 5G plans. Rima standing by to take us through the details. Rima, so we have a timeline now, a Diwali launch across key cities, and 18 months post that, pan-India.
The timeline of the much-awaited 5G rollout. Jio has said they will launch 5G across multiple key cities, including Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai and Kolkata, and this is going to happen by Diwali of 2022. And then they're aiming for a full pan-India 5G coverage by December of 2023. less than 18 months from where we are currently. The second takeaway is look at Jio's monetary commitment to 5G. Jio has said that they will be investing 2 lakh crore to build a pan-India true 5G network. And remember, this comes after spending a whopping 88,000 crore on acquiring the 5G spectrum in the first place. They say the business case for 5G is so strong that they can achieve high teens ROC through a combination of mobility market share gains and SUC savings alone. And for those of you who are waiting for 5G-like broadband at home and a 5G phone, there is good news. Jio 5G will be also offering ultra-high-speed fixed broadband called Jio Air Fiber, and they also said that they're working with Google to develop an ultra-affordable 5G smartphone in India. 5G is also going to be, Jio 5G is also going to be the world's largest and the most advanced 5G network. Let me tell you why. Now, most operators in India are going to be deploying 5G on a non-standalone network, which basically is your 5G radio signal, which is delivered on the existing 4G infrastructure. Reliance Jio, on the other hand, will be deploying the 5G radio signals on a standalone network. With this, Jio can deliver new and powerful services like very low latency, massive machine-to-machine communication, 5G voice, edge computing, network slicing, and metaverse. And lastly, something which can make all Indians proud. Jio's 5G network has been indigenously developed. The end-to-end 5G stack developed by Jio is indigenous, which is fully cloud-native, software-defined, digitally managed, with support for even advanced features like Qualcomm security. Back to you.
Jio has prepared an ambitious and the fastest ever 5G rollout plan for a country of our size. Within the next 2 months, that is by Diwali of 2022, we will launch Jio 5G across multiple key cities, including the metro cities of Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, and Calcutta. Subsequently, we plan to increase the Jio 5G footprint month after month until by December of 2023, which is less than 18 months from today, to deliver Jio 5G to every town, every taluka, and every tehsil of our country.
Well, that's Mukesh Ambani detailing the Reliance 5G rollout plan starting Diwali. But that's not all from the 45th AGM of Reliance Industries. Sonal joins us now with more on Reliance's new energy business plans as well as its O2C business. Sonal.
Thanks a lot for that. Well, Reliance Industries has announced a 75,000 crore investment plan to expand their O2C capabilities across value chain, and 75,000 crore rupees additional investment which was already announced in the new energy business last year, which has a potential of doubling from current levels according to the company. They have given timelines in terms of some of the projects which were already announced. They will be establishing 10 gigawatt of annual cell and module capacity by 2024, which will be scaled up to more levels, that is 20 gigawatt of fully integrated capacity by 2026. Additionally, they aim to extend the life of PV modules from 25 to 50 years. Some new investments into glass and film manufacturing were spoken of, and Reliance Industries is also setting up battery packs facility by 2023, where they will scale it to around 5 gigawatt hour of capacity by 2024 and 50 gigawatt hour by 2027. They will also be setting up new gigafactories for power electronics. Very important, they aim to transition from grey hydrogen to green hydrogen by 2025 itself.
Well, thanks very much, Sonal, but we're not done yet. On to the big announcement from the retail space, the foray into FMCG. Mukesh Ambani said that Reliance Retail will launch its FMCG business this year. Mangalam joins us now with those details. Mangalam, Isha Ambani detailing Reliance Retail's foray into the FMCG space.
The big announcement coming in from the retail arena this time around from Reliance's 45th AGM was the launch of a full-blown FMCG company. They will launch an FMCG business this year was the key headline that came in from there. Remember, Reliance has been selling FMCG products under its Snack Tag brand, etc. But this time around, the fact that they will formally launch it is a big positive. In fact, the objective of the company is to develop and deliver products that solve every Indian's daily needs with high-quality products at affordable prices. We've seen this internationally where, you know, in-store labels do extremely well for a couple of companies, the likes of Costco, etc. as well. And they will soon also start marketing quality goods produced by tribals and other marginalized communities across India. So that will also be a niche product that Reliance's consumer business will sell. In fact, They are also on course to partner with 1 crore merchants, and this compares with around 20 lakh merchants that they've added until now. And this will happen in the next 5 years. They've launched the WhatsApp Jio Mart partnership. In fact, that is a big trigger as well, where you can place orders on Jio Mart through the WhatsApp app, and that would be a good combination of user interface with Reliance Jio's network as well. In fact, it will also be using WhatsApp Pay along with cash on delivery and all the other payment methods. Own brands currently contribute around 65% to their retail sales, and that will continue as well. But over and above everything was the statement of confidence coming in from Mukesh Ambani, saying that Reliance Retail will grow exponentially and become the largest segment within the group. Retail so far has been the valuation driver for Reliance, and it's only likely to grow further with the announcement of the FMCG business.
Mangala, many thanks. Standard disclaimer: Network 18 and TV18, the companies that operate CNBC-TV18, are controlled by the independent media trust of which Reliance Industries is the sole beneficiary. And we will discuss the key takeaways from the Reliance AGM with experts tonight at 9 and 10:30 p.m. right here on CNBC-TV18. In its first official comment on the matter, the government has denied contemplating a ban on Chinese phones that cost less than 12,000 rupees. Rajiv Chandrasekhar, the Minister of State, the Ministry of Electronics and IT, has told my colleague Ashmit Kumar that the government will ensure space for Indian brands and suppliers and will not work towards the exclusion of foreign brands.
So there were recently flutters in the electronics industry in the market on account of reports unsubstantiated which said that there could perhaps be potentially a ban on Chinese phones below 12,000 rupees, I beg your pardon. Would you like to clarify on that? Because there were plenty of concerns there for market holders.
There's nothing for me to clarify. I think the only issue that we have raised, and we have done this very transparently with some of the Chinese brands, is that we have said that our expectation is that they will do more exports, and their supply chains, especially the component supply chains, will need to be more transparent and much more open. Apart from that, the other narrative about crowding them out from a particular segment of the market is something for which we don't have a proposal, and I'm not sure where that came from.
So no ban, that's the Minister of State for IT and Technology. In a bid to protect consumers, the Reserve Bank of India is working on a new fraud registry. Under the new reporting mechanism, banks can report to the RBI the IP addresses, locations and telephone numbers of perpetrators defrauding bank customers repeatedly. The mechanism will enable the regulator to blacklist such callers. Maruti Suzuki marked 40 years of its JV in India at an event in Ahmedabad. The Prime Minister said that the joint venture was a symbol of a strong India-Japan partnership. Suzuki Chairman Osamu Suzuki said 60% of the company's sales come from the Indian market, announcing the setting up of a new R&D centre. Parikshit Luthra joins us with the top highlights from the event.
Yes, the Prime Minister laid the foundation for two key future projects of the Suzuki Group. One, a battery manufacturing plant in Hansalpur, Gujarat, which will have an investment of 7,300 crores, and a car manufacturing plant in Kharkhoda, Haryana. 11,000 crores will go towards the investment in phase one of the project, and this will have a capacity of 10 lakh units per annum. T. Suzuki, the chairman of the Suzuki Motor Company, announced the setting up of a new company, Suzuki R&D Centre India, which will be used to increase the technological and R&D capabilities of the Suzuki Group, not just for India, but for global markets as well. The Prime Minister urged the industry to do more on electric vehicles, hybrids and alternate fuel vehicles. He said EVs are going through a silent revolution in the country. They're no longer a second vehicle for people. They're becoming the vehicle of primary choice, and the government is pushing the electric vehicle ecosystem with a large number of demand and supply incentives, pushing the charging infrastructure, the swapping infrastructure in the country as well. We're also picking up from our sources that Maruti's electric vehicle plan, which is supposed to kick off in 2025, may actually start earlier with an electric SUV as early as October 2024. There will also be an SUV onslaught from the group to regain the lost market share. Two more SUVs after the Grand Vitara in this fiscal. One of them will be the Jimny as early as December or early January. At the same time, the company is going to bet big on hybrid and alternate fuel vehicles. Hybrid especially depends on the success of the Grand Vitara.
Now, in relief for ISRO's commercial arm Antrix, the Delhi High Court has set aside an arbitral award that directed Antrix to pay over $560 million to Devas Multimedia. Remember, the International Chamber of Commerce had directed Antrix to pay the sum as damages for allegedly illegally terminating its contract with Devas. The Delhi High Court said the arbitration award is infected with the poison of fraud, and so was the deal. Now, Justice UU Lalit listed over 900 petitions for hearing on his first working day as the Chief Justice. Remember, Justice Lalit will have a tenure of less than 3 months as CJI. Ashmit joins us now. Ashmit, a busy start to his short tenure.
Who is taking over the reins of India's top court after Justice N.V. Ramana? Well, Justice UU Lalit assumed office today as the 49th Chief Justice of India. He will have a short term, though, just a little shy of about 3 months. But given how much he has on his plate, he seemed keen on wanting to start on a strong note. So on his very first day, his office, he listed 900 petitions across 16 benches of the Apex Court. So what cases did the new CJI look to take on? Well, to begin with, the CJI-led bench has agreed to hear a PIL which seeks for law enforcement agencies to invoke the National Security Act against those engaging in hoarding, profiteering, adulteration and black marketing. Now, the plea was filed by BJP leader Ashwini Upadhyay. The Supreme Court has sought the centre's reply on this proposal. Meanwhile, Justice Lalit's bench also heard a plea on the deal for French fighter aircraft Rafale. The plea had claimed that investigations by French authorities had revealed kickbacks paid by Dassault to Indian officials. Now, the plea sought for these findings to be directed to be placed before India's top court. This plea has been rejected. And finally, CJI-led bench also heard Siddique Kappan's bail application. He has been facing charges under the infamous UAPA and has been in jail since October of 2020. He was charged by the UP police during his visit to Hathras. Kappan has sought to defend himself by claiming that he's merely a journalist. The Supreme Court today issued notice to UP and clarified that it was eager to hear and decide this issue on the next date of hearing. The case will now be taken up on September 9th. The CJI, in fact, also issued notice in a batch of applications that have challenged the ban introduced by Karnataka on hijab in educational institutions. Notice has been issued and a reply has been sought. But even with 900 cases on day one, there's a lot that the previous CJI has left on Justice Lalit's plate.
Ashwin, many thanks for joining us. We will head into a break, but up next, as the dust settles post the Supertech Twin Tower demolition, the cleanup begins. A special report when we return. Well, a quick check at the national headlines. All MLAs of the Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi are holding a protest inside the assembly against Lieutenant Governor Vinay Kumar Saxena. The AAP alleges a scam of 1,400 crore rupees when the LG was the chairman of Khadi and Village Industries Commission. Chief Minister Kejriwal has also called for a trust vote tomorrow to prove his majority in the House. After a lot of back and forth, the Congress Working Committee has decided to hold the much-awaited presidential election on the 17th of October. The results will be declared on October 19th. The last time a contest took place for the post of Congress president was way back in 2001. A day after the Supertech Twin Towers were demolished, residents of nearby housing societies have started returning to their homes. While there are no big structural damage to the nearby buildings, cleanup operation is underway. Residents in the area still have some concerns. Abhimanyu Sharma reports.
Residents of the Supertech Emerald Court Society in Noida finally woke up to a view which was promised to them by the builder over a decade back when they had booked their flats in the housing society. The space located adjacent to the society now finally is a green and clean open space. However, the debris of the previously erected Apex and CN towers, which were demolished yesterday, still is kept at the place. The debris stands at a height of over a few stories. Despite being demolished yesterday, big boulders and blocks of concrete will have to be broken down into smaller pieces in order to ensure that they can be transported from this site. Another plus is that so far, no abnormal rise in air pollution levels has been noted after Sunday's demolition. But the air quality index at this location has hit 209, which falls under the classification of unhealthy. Experts say it may take some time for the air quality to return to what it was before the demolition, though water sprinklers, dust-sucking machines and mechanized sweepers have been deployed for quicker impact. While minimal damage has been reported at the Supertech Emerald Court, ATS Village, which is located adjacent to the demolition site, does have some damage due to the demolition which was carried out. The towers located adjacent to the demolition site have some glass panes which have been broken, some electric poles have been damaged. Also, a 10-meter boundary wall has been breached due to the demolition which was carried out. As of now, the authorities are looking at the issue and are trying to ensure repairs at the earliest.
There's a massive structure which has fallen on the, the partition wall between ATS and Supertech. So I'm sure those things will have to be repaired. And my main, let's say, request to the authorities would be that, the structural safety audit should be done ASAP so that, the residents can live in peace.
But authorities maintain that any damage in the area from the demolition is mainly superficial and not structural. They add that they are engaging with residents to ensure a swift return to normalcy. While civic authorities are involved in cleaning up the neighborhood, it's up to the residents to arrange, oversee and foot the bill for any cleaning up within their individual houses. But the residents are not complaining.
Today morning we came back. It was as if nothing really had happened. Though we had made sure that all our windows and any external balconies and everything are covered, and we took them down. There was a very minimal amount of dust, which is like a normal sandstorm or a dust storm that would happen. So I'm very happy the way that they have conducted. Everything very planned, very well managed. The RW had assured that if there is anything which breaks down, any major, which is like doors, window panes or something, if that happens, then they would get them replaced. This will be a big deterrent for a lot of unscrupulous builders.
The residents of these adjoining housing societies are also hopeful that the court-ordered demolition will instill fear in the minds of builders and prompt them to not tinker with safety norms or execute projects in a way that reduces the mandated green cover. In Noida, Abhimanyu Sharma for CNBC-TV18.
In international news, the UN nuclear watchdog will visit Europe's biggest nuclear plant in Ukraine. This after fears intensifies due to severe shelling in the region. The nuclear power station has been a hotspot of conflict between Russia and Ukraine, and both countries have traded the blame for the attacks on or near the nuclear plant. In the neighborhood, Pakistan is battling the worst monsoon floods in a decade. Officials say over 1,000 people have died since June when the seasonal rains began. But the final toll could be higher as hundreds of villages in the mountainous north have been cut off after overflowing rivers disrupted connectivity. Pakistan has asked for help from the international community and the IMF for financial assistance. China's widespread lockdowns as part of its zero-COVID policy have taken a toll. Chinese tech giants recording their worst quarter of growth in history. Alibaba reported its first flat year-on-year quarterly revenue growth. Social media and gaming company Tencent reported its first sales decline on record. And the race to a lunar colony gets delayed. NASA has called off the much-awaited launch of its giant unmanned moon rocket Artemis 1 due to engine trouble. And that is it on this edition of India Business Hour. From all of us here, goodbye. Thanks for watching. The news continues here on CNBC-TV18.